Hello, Mr. Magno. How are you doing today?
Okay, Michael, pretty good.
I called you Mister again. I don't know, must be a habit. Huh?
Uh,
I was thinking about habits. What do you think about this habit of people have with eating the dead bodies of animals? In other words, meat eaters.
mhm. Well, it's not a habit.
You
It's
don't
a
you don't think it's a habit that they've come
no.
to accept?
It hasn't reached the point of habit.
What is
It
habit then?
well, a habit is like a cigarette habit or something like that. They've been eating meat since they were born, so it's not a habit. Habit
So
something.
what would you call that then?
Well, what would you call it? It's the
All right. So let's say
meat.
conditioning, a conditioning of a way of life.
Yeah, you could use that as conditioning, but the average person, the average meat eater, never thought about it. Because if they thought about it, they wouldn't eat meat. And this is one of the big problems with society in general. People do things half asleep. I'm not trying to be mean. It's a fact. And it has nothing to do with intelligence. It has nothing to do with education. We were born in a society in such a way with so many lies that we are asleep. And this is why when you are reading or speaking and you're using certain words that you are not sure of their definition, you kind of get sleepy. You go unconscious. That's because that's the way it was right from the beginning. You learn words by rote.
Oh, so then I guess I was a little sleepy.
Eating is the same thing. We were brought up eating meat. We never thought about it. A few of us thought about it, and we changed. I was lucky. My father didn't eat meat for a while. I guess he did a little bit in the beginning. He did eat fish, and I do eat fish, not too much, just maybe twice a week. But I don't meat for years. I haven't touched meat.
But you started out eating meat, right?
Of course,
Because
when you do, all of us, we were born in a society of lies. And no, going back to what I was saying, it's not, unless you think about it, you're never going to do anything about it.
so what?
Now,
Well,
today we have organizations that get in touch with us through email and showing us the horror and the horrible things that go on in these slaughterhouses, in these factory farms. Oh my God, it's really it's terrible, terrible. And there's no need. I also claim, as we studied today, excuse me, as we studied today, that the eating of meat, from my point of view, of course, I know many people don't believe it. That's fine. It doesn't bother me in the least.
many people don't believe what.
They don't believe that illness is caused by meat eating. I think that 75% of all illness is caused by meat eating. If you don't eat meat, then all cause of illness is caused mainly psychologically or spiritually. I call sickness spiritual vomit. But if you're eating meat, the primary cause would be the eating of meat. I really recommend that people give up meat. If you saw a movie of what goes on in the slaughterhouse or in one of these factory farms, you won't eat meat ever again. It is horrible.
So does that happen in all slaughter farms? These
Well,
incidents?
now that these organizations are doing something about it, some of them have improved their way of handling the animals, but they're still killing them, but not so much in a devilish way as some other farms. But anybody in the business of killing animals is going to pay a big price. It's just horrible. Imagine me killing my cat and eating it. Even if I was dying in the desert without any food, I would not kill my cat to eat. Just incredible.
So what does it have? What impact does it have on your health?
Meat eating, well, it decomposes on inside the intestines, and if you have a very good digestion, it doesn't do as much harm. But if your digestion is just a little bit off, meat just putrefies inside your intestines.
So for the people that have good digestion, it's okay to eat meat.
No, I didn't say that. Spiritually, for me, I'm not saying this for you or anybody, but for me, spiritually, it's one of the worst things you could do is to kill another life in order to eat. Now along comes the modern existentialist, and he says, yeah, but you eat vegetation. Vegetation has consciousness too, and it does, but it doesn't have a brain. Therefore, it feels a disturbance but doesn't feel pain. So you don't have farms where you cut up the vegetables and tear out their testicles with their bare hands like they do in these factory farms. It's horrible, horrible. And those poor things over there squealing and oh. And I was born on the island of Madeira, and every Christmas they killed the pig. So around about 1 month before, about 3 weeks before Christmas, they would start killing their pigs. So all around the neighborhood, they stick a knife in the pig's neck, and the pig starts bleeding, and they save the blood, I don't know for what, and the pig squeals for half an hour until he dies. Horrible. And the chickens too, just horrible. So spiritually, I think it's one of the worst things a person can do is to eat meat. And not just because of the pain that it creates for animals, but also the animals are needed in the line of evolution on the earth. So why should the universal beingness create animals if they're not needed? So people in general were brought up eating meat. It's not their fault. They were brought up eating meat. Everybody eats meat. So then you begin waking up spiritually, and that's when people start feeling this feeling of, well, I'm going to kill an animal to eat the animal. Oh, that's just one thing. And then they cut up all this meat and put it in the windows of the stores to sell, and they put chemicals on it to so that they don't rot. So you're eating all this. Then they kill the animals in front of all the other animals, like on a conveyor belt. The animals in back know what's going to happen to them. Animals are not stupid. True, they don't speak. They don't have enough self-consciousness as man does. but they see this, they know what's going to happen. And in that moment, many chemicals, many or one, I don't know, it doesn't matter, one or two, I don't need to use scientific words. Everybody nowadays is hung up on scientific words. All you have to know is the principle behind it. Something is released into the blood, and that chemical that the animals release is like a defense mechanism you're eating also in meat. So that's the story there. And probably if one were to think more about it, you would come up with more reasons not to eat meat.
So you have two reasons so far.
It doesn't matter two or three or four. What does that matter? What
Oh,
matters?
well, what's going to stop anybody from eating meat?
Health, one of them. Two, the pain that they're creating in the animals. Three, they're helping in the existence of these factory farms. Look at a movie. Anybody that looks at a movie will never eat meat again. It's horrible. They tear the testicles with their bare hands. Some don't even use gloves. And then they throw the poor animal back into the dump. They take little chicks and put them in a bag, tie the bag up, and throw it in the garbage. I mean it. You, look, I never believed in the devil, only as a symbol of the worst that could happen. But now I believe in the devil. Man is a devil. Not all men, but some men. Anybody that does this to these poor animals has got to be a devil. He's got to be totally out of sync with life. They bring them up in these little cubicles. All these animals in these little cubicles, and they never see the daylight or anything. They're just fattening up in order to be killed or to lay eggs. That's why it's important when you eat eggs, which the chickens used to lay for you lovingly. My daughter has chickens. They lay eggs, but my daughter does not kill the chickens. So she has eggs all the time, and the eggs are pure. And that's what that animal does for you. That's okay to do that. And milk is the same thing. If the cow is taken care of, you eat that milk, you drink that milk. But they have these animals for milk, they're like in cubicles. They're tied up, they can't move. And all these machines sucking milk out of them. It's horrible. Just absolutely horrible. So, I really tell people that it's so much healthier not to eat meat. All I eat is a salad for breakfast, an omelet, and a few cooked vegetables. That's all.
So when you stop eating meat, what did you begin to notice?
Oh, much lighter. My skin is more clear. No bad breath. Your sweat is clear. It takes a while. It takes a few months.
And what about your energy level?
Energy level, at first you feel a little weak, but I was never a big meat eater anyway. But you do feel a little weaker at first. You don't have to eat meat. Look, cancer can be very easily cured. They do it every day if you go over the border of Mexico to the Gerson Institute. And Can you imagine them eating meat to to cure cancer? All they do is eat vegetables, raw, everything raw, fruits, enemas, and that's it, and lots of clean, fresh water. And the average person doesn't know these things because they never had to.
So you think people would enjoy eating salads and giving up all of
I hope so. I do. I love it. I just love them. I never had anything against. Another thing that people don't know is that you can't mix fruits and food at the same time. You know, they say, well, can have fruits as a dessert. No, don't do that because it only takes about 10 minutes for the stomach to digest fruits, whereas it takes longer for the other kind of food. So fruits should be eaten only before the meal or a meal just of fruit. I really believe that basically man is a fruitarian, like monkeys, should live only on fruits, but I'm not going to go that far. But meat is absolutely out. It wouldn't be so bad, excuse me, if they didn't do what they do to the poor animals. All this is done to the poor animals for the sake of money. People do only things for money. Now, there's nothing wrong with money. Money's good. Affluence is good. Riches are good. When you have your purpose in life, when you love what you do, you become wealthy automatically. You'd never go begging. But they do anything to make money, even if it destroys nature or other human beings. It's incredible. A lot of people say, oh, yeah, but you're being very negative. I thought about that too for years. No, I'm not negative. I am seeing things as they are, devoid of the lies from the age of 1 to 7. Our heads have been filled with lies. And so, to such an extent that when we see a tree, we see what's in our minds concerning a tree. If your mother told you when you were 5 years old that the tree has bugs in it, that's what you're going to see, unless you're an original thinker. If you're an original thinker, you will think, wait a minute now, what do I see in that tree? What I see is a dark bark and then green things coming out, and I kind of like it. That's what I see in it. You see what's there. And that's why the first step in my square deal is the application of honesty with self and reality. Now, I was not the promoter of honesty. There was another very important man who I loved very much, passed on a few years ago, who was the promulgator of the idea of happiness. Not happiness, honesty. And that was Dr. Frank R. Wallace, who wrote about and founded an organization called Neotech. And I enjoyed reading him. I knew him, I spoke with him. And he was the first one that I know of that really pushed the idea of honesty. And actually, I started making the big, like Dr. Dwayne Dyer says, the big shift. I started making the shift through that idea that he promulgated of honesty. When I started applying honesty in my life is when that shift started coming out. And that led to my first, that led to my first transformation. So most people never think about this business of meat eating. They just eat it because it's what they've been doing since childhood. And humans are that way. They do whatever is there to do, whatever they've been doing. They, in order to have a transformation, in order to really understand what life is all about for yourself, not for others, for yourself, you have to ask those 6 questions in step 2 of the square deal. Who am I? What is the purpose of life? Where did I come from? What am I doing? Where am I going? All of these questions. And then some meaning starts brewing in there. And then you start saying, oh, wait a minute now. My God, blah, 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 blah. And you study a little bit of all of these things. And then you realize that if we have animals, there must be a reason why God created the animals. Or if you don't want to use the word God, which I don't use very often, you can use universal beingness. It must be reason, part of evolution. And what happens after you give up meat is that you become more and more spiritualized, and you have your feeling for animals and nature in general begins to change. Yep. So there are many organizations that are fighting this decadence in these factory farms, and they say the best way to stop meat eating is stop the cruelty to animals is to stop eating meat. So your health improves, everything improves. This has been proven over and over and over again at the Gerson Institute. Now there are many other institutes that are even curing cancer just by diet alone. People don't know. People don't care.
People don't care about what?
About anything. It's not their fault. I'm not putting them down. That's the way it is. Look at it. You can see it. It's there to see. Except that people don't want to think about it. They don't want to look at it. It's not their fault either. Nothing is anybody's fault.
I don't know if you could say they don't care, but I think they don't know. How
Well,
could you
if
say they don't care? They don't know. They don't have an awareness of.
apparently they don't care because all of these organizations all around are asking them, telling them, I mean, one after the other, about the evils of meat eating and the benefit of nutrients that are not animal. It's all around. Apparently, they didn't get sufficiently ill. I hope they don't.
Well, I don't. You say it's all around, but I don't. I don't really think it's in the media. I don't think you're seeing it on
Oh,
TV
uh,
every day.
I'm glad it's not in the media because they only put anything in the media that makes money.
Right. So, um, I think somebody. How would somebody learn about this that doesn't really know about it?
Well, you just go to your computer
Use
and you put in meat eating versus vegetarianism, or you put in animal farms, or you put in factory farms. It's all there. People just either don't know or they're not interested. That's what they've been doing from childhood. Now, my beef is this: as a coach, a vocal life coach, my beef is this.
your beef. That's meat.
Right, well said. My beef is this, and it's a good beef because I don't eat it. My beef is that, what was I saying? I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, yeah, as a coach, as a coach, a person has to look at every form of life, every way of thinking. This has to be looked at. It has to be thought about. And people come to you because you've done the thinking that they should have done for themselves, but they can't do it for one reason or another. So they come to you and they pay you and they help you. And then after a while, you're on your feet again, and you do what you think is right for yourself. But people are born, they go to school, they get an education which is not an education, and then they go to college. Again, it's not an education because the accent is on money. The accent is on materialism only. You cannot have a society based on materialism. Now the Pope, even today was on the news, Pope Francis. He's got a whole kinds of things. I never heard the Pope talk about these things before. He's talking about the weather, the way people are approaching all of these, the crimes in the city, and all of these things happen because it's out of balance. Life has to be a balance of the physical with the metaphysical. Like this. Not like this, but like this. And the metaphysical is what gives rise to the physical. The metaphysical is what makes you breathe, makes you circulate your blood, makes you digest your food. All those things are done for you. It is the nature of the universal beingness to create, and nothing but create. And I'm going to end off with this thought because it's a dangerous thought. The universal beingness is waiting for you. So the universal beingness can see itself in you. And once you realize that, nothing can stop us. Nothing. But we have to remain connected to the Father, universal beingness. You ever heard about the word apotheosis?
What was that?
Did you ever hear the word apotheosis?
No.
Okay, I would like you to look it up right after this session. Okay? Look that word up. Apotheoses. Apotheosis. But they wouldn't tell you that. Okay?
All right.